President of the Mineral Council, Mr. Mpolisi Mkojo. I don't know if I should say outgoing because I'm told there are elections today. And I wanted to get the right to vote. The CEO of the Mineral Council, Roger Baxter, members of the executive, members of the Mineral Council who are here today, invited guests, particularly from DMRE, which is a very, very important partner of the Mineral Council. Sometimes we are called a stakeholder, and I always deny, say, object. I'm not a stakeholder. I'm a regulator, and it confuses many people. I am pleased to join you at this important gathering as you celebrate 131 years of the existence of Mineral Council of South Africa. As a continuous and a legal successor to the Chamber of Mines. Official mining in South Africa is 136 years. That's 4 years older than the Minerals Council. So that means this organization was organized and formed quite soon after starting mining formally and officially. Over the years, mining has made an immense contribution in the economy of the country. We have seen this manifesting in the development of Johannesburg, among other mining towns. Today, Johannesburg's diversified economy is not relying on mining for growth. I hope we can be able to say that about Stilfontein, Klerksdorp, Welkom, Witbank. I hope we can say that one day. However, the economic contribution happened on the back of a country that was characterized by uh, uneven relations between black and white. These uneven relations also played out in the mining sector where there was systematic and all-round deprivation of basic human rights and economic participation of black South Africans, such that the fruits of their labor and resources could not accrue to them. They were denied basic human rights such as their right to health and safety, decent living conditions, decent wages, and many others. It is an important history that we must never forget. We must always remember this history because it is this history that will help us be able to appreciate progress. Because when you begin to make progress, when people will say slow, when you have this clear history, you will understand that it's not as slow as many people say. When South Africa ushered in its democratic dispensation in 1994, millions of people joined in a joyful celebration as this would mark the end of peaceful history. This is the time or the moment when all South Africans could define themselves as equals. Um, Even in the mines, workers would no longer be called by numbers. They had names. You know, I talked to one politician last week who made a particular comment. I said to him, listen, man, don't remind me of the old days when I came to the mines. If you are short, your name would be short. If you are tall, you will be long one. And when I walk with Msiza is long one and I'm short. And we've gone past that. As the country has settled down to reconstruct and develop an ideal South Africa, we could only avoid critical questions such as how do we bring this equality to a tangible reality. This tangible reality had very much to do with, among others, addressing the basic human rights of the people of South Africa, in particular, mine workers. Uh, I have a soft spot for mine workers. Sometimes I remind people that when mine workers began to be organized, one of the biggest achievements was dignity. Dignity. Even before we got salaries and many other things, we got dignity of being seen as mine workers. It's only the NUM which is having a name with mine workers and one as one word. Everybody write mine workers. The starting of mine workers is mine workers, one word. So it is quite important, therefore, that for us in the mining sector, this was an unavoidable topic as we had to urgently address the inhuman living and working conditions which mine workers had been subjected to for the longest time. When we say that at a point, mine workers' conditions were comparable to agriculture, people do not believe it. And resultantly, there was a great shift in the regulatory regime across the economic sectors, more so in the mining sector. This saw the introduction of the MPRDA in 2002 and the Mining Charter in 2004. These regulatory instruments were premised on achieving the dream of transforming that would set the country, transformation that would send the country on a path to inclusive growth and development. And transformation is one thing close to my heart because sometimes we limit it to numbers when it should actually be about actual quality of work we do to transform the lives of people. The government's expectation was that this would be embraced both in letter and spirit. It is regrettable that in the sector we will continue to drag one another to courts to sort out transformation issues. A government remained relentless to the noble cause of transformation in the economy. And transformation, until as a sector, we see transformation as a business imperative, we are going to have problems from time to time. The day we see it as a business imperative, and appreciate that fishing from a bigger pond is better than fishing from a smaller pond. Um, one of my stories that I tell everywhere, I love it because it makes me feel good, is the fact that when the Nationalist Party was in power for 40 years, it never produced an Afrikaner as CEO. Since 1994, we have produced a number of Afrikaner CEOs in the sector. We are producing a number of black CEOs. We are producing a number of female CEOs, something we wouldn't even dream in 1994. Despite these elements of resistance on transformation, our regulatory instruments have delivered significant improvement on the health and safety of mine workers' living conditions as it relates to conversion of hostel to family units, single quarters, and in doing so, we indeed have restored the dignity of mine workers. That good work must continue. Uh, I think we must congratulate the mine owners, the employers there, that that work is continuing. You know, somebody told me that nothing is happening in the mining industry. And I said to them, mining industry is doing much better than many sectors, but because we don't say so, people say there's nothing happening. It is up to the mining industry to begin to tell the story of what they do. You know, I looked at the banking sector. There was one first black woman who was a CEO. Within a year, he left that banking house. Uh, not looking forward, moving with the back. We saw the very black CEO and ABSA. He couldn't finish his time, he had to go. But it's nice to be CEO because when you're fired as a CEO, it is said that there's mutual agreement to part ways. It's nice. I hope there was that narrative when I left Western Development in 1975. So the point I'm making is that we must say what we are doing so that people can know that even if they're not happy with what we're doing, but at least something is happening, you know. And the review of the mining charter in 2018 has made even bigger strides as it formally ushered in the 10% free carried shareholding of communities and workers. This recognizes the fact that workers convert investment into wealth and that communities also benefit as they are the owners of the mineral wealth, which is held in custody by the state on behalf of the people. We must remember that as we begin to open up, more demands will mount on us. And we must not run away when we see that. We must manage it because it is not the most oppressed who wage a revolution. It is the most liberated who have space to wage a revolution. So it is important for us to know that as we go to the communities, more demands for shareholding, for opportunities and all that, those must be debated, but please keep the industry vibrant and healthy, please, because it's a very important industry. One of the greatest injustices that we have managed to address through this transformation agenda is the recognition of women in the sector. It is not a secret that women were previously not allowed to work in the mine. I was telling people on Saturday that there were stories that if women can ever go underground, there will be rock falls. We know by now that there are no rock falls. Women work there, they're productive, they are good miners, they are good geologists, and therefore women are in the industry. 53,000 of mine workers are women today. And I like telling it in numbers because when you tell numbers, it sounds big. 53,000, that is 12% of the industry. We also have women chief executive officers at terms of big mining companies. You know, it excites me, I must say, to see that the CEO of TBS today in South Africa is a woman. To see the CEO of Exaro coming, you see, I'm sure you have seen that because he doesn't have a tie today. He regards himself as already been fired. He will be fired as the president of the chamber. He's being fired as the CEO of Exaro, replaced by a woman. Now, I must say in Gojo, that will go down the books as a positive legacy rather than something to regret. We must commend Exaro for appointing Nombasa as CEO designate so far. It is quite an important milestone. We're beginning to see women playing different roles. Later, engena kuthi nguchairperson we-Anglo yonke South Africa is a woman. That means the industry is making a visible contribution. It must just work on that, nurse that progress, cultivate it, nurture it. I also deem it fit to reflect on the status of mining over the years of its existence in South Africa. You know, the 1970s saw the contribution of mining sector to the GDP soaring and picking up to 21% in 1980. The peak was mainly characterized by gold production. That's why for a long period of time, in South Africa, mining was equated to gold mining. Totally, the sector contributes 8.2% today to the GDP. This decline in the sector's contribution to the GDP over the years is largely as a result of the decline of gold production, which to me can no longer be justified because we've discovered many new minerals over the past years. It is our collective responsibility to revive the sector and place it on the growth path where it can contribute a much higher percentage to the GDP. I personally believe I think few people in the Mineral Council have agreed with me that the industry can at least contribute 12% to the GDP in the near future. We can all achieve this if we continue to work together as social partners in the industry. I think working together during COVID is a living example of how this industry can achieve anything it wants to achieve if we're working together. You know, when we when we opened up mining under COVID, we had all sorts of allegations that listen, when Mantashe, the blood of mine workers will be in your hands and so forth. We said no. The worst blood will be when we starve mine workers to death and kill the sector. We work together. The performance of the mining industry from a dismal first and second quarter last year to a massive improvement in quarter three, good performance in quarter four, good performance in the first quarter of 2021 is quite an illustration of results of us working together. We will not agree on everything, but when we disagree, it is even a bigger reason for us to engage. When we agree, we must clap hands together, but try to resolve everything we disagree on. We must work together. Now, if we are to revive the sector, we need to commit to the following interventions. One, a robust exploration program, improvement on our licensing regime, implementation of the regulatory policies, investment into research and development, investment into mineral processing technologies, investment into artisanal and small scale mining. Uh, you know, uh, exploration, it is important that we're working with the Mineral Council to develop a comprehensive exploration strategy. Roger, it must not take too long. We must conclude that process because you don't promise an exploration process for a year and expect investors to have confidence in you. We're working hard to improve our mining licensing system. It is a nightmare for us. The implementation of the mining charter, in particular social labor plans, has a potential to create diversified economies in communities where mining takes place. You must remember, we continue to encourage mining companies. Stop putting small projects in communities as individual mining companies. Pool your resources together. Invest in impact making projects in every society. Mining will be remembered for monument more years. Uh, as we look to exploit more commodities, that's our host. We need to invest in research and development in order to be able to utilize new innovative ways of exploring and exploiting the minerals needed by the economy of the future. Everybody talks of green economy. I always remind them that anything that you will see as improvement, it will either be mined or grown. So we must open up our space and very hard to determine that future. Artisanal and small scale mining is actually important as we begin to leave many mines unattended because they don't fit our strategies as big companies. We must facilitate small scale and artisanal mining so that we don't sterilize mineral deposits. We are quite important. It is quite important to have a secure and stable energy supply. Uh, Embedded generation is something that we welcome. We're hoping that when Goldfields got the license for 40 megawatts, you will not know this. We had to hold a party in the department, which was hosted by me. Said, listen, this can be done. I'm hoping that those mining companies that want to get into embedded generation will visit us. Even if we are not starting, just we discuss the plan, we prepare for the plan, we talk to NERSA so that you don't get stopped. Otherwise, you're going to have Ndadem Gojo asking for 50 megawatts without a license. But if we facilitate it, we do make it happen, it will be quite a breakthrough for the economy. I'm inviting the mining companies to come forward. Let's work on embedded generation for those mining companies that want to supplement the ESCOM supply. The importance of organized mining sector cannot be underplayed, for it is when we are better organized that we can take this industry to greater heights. Uh, as a sector, you must continue commanding respect in the economy. The manifestation of this became evident when the country went into lockdown March last year. We moved with speed, partnered with all social partners in the development of the sector, specific guidelines of the management, and implementation of a phased-in approach as we sought to save lives while protecting livelihoods. The outcome of our intervention is much evident in the recovery of the sector in March 2021, where we recorded a year-on-year growth of 21.3%. We'll continue working with you and incoming leadership that will be elected in order to grow the sector. We wish you well in your deliberation. We look forward to the outcomes of the AGM that will enrich our collective work going forward. I know I was told in no uncertain terms I will not be allowed to vote unless I give 50 megawatts for free and for no license. Uh, I don't have megawatts in my pocket, so I'm disqualified from voting. I thank you. I love this sector. I regard myself as part of it. Thank you very much.